Welcome. Welcome to Start Deliver webinar. Today we're talking about reporting and how customer success can do reporting. We're going to go a deep dive into this, how to do reports, dashboards, all those things. And it's going to be a really full 30-minute webinar, and it's packed with a lot of information since this is quite a big topic. But don't worry, you will get all the information. And of course, we will also follow up on this, and you will in the end be able to pose questions. You will also be able to, of course, send in questions or comments afterwards, and we'll follow up on that. My name is Johan Nilsson. I'm the CEO and founder of Start Deliver, and I'll be hosting this webinar today. We also record this so you can see it afterwards, or if you want to share it with a colleague. But let's get started. So, reporting, customer success. I know this firsthand. It's a lot of data in customer success. It's a lot of data in general if you're in SaaS, if you're in a tech company. And there's a lot of buzzwords flying around. I think you all have heard them more or less. And in the day-to-day, it can be quite frustrating when people throw these words at you and you have to present some report or some dashboard, or you need to bring this information into a meeting. So today we will try to solve this, straighten things out, help you find your reports, your dashboards, what you want and what you need. But let's take it from the start here. So in a software company or in a SaaS business, there is actually two things that value the company. In most other businesses, people look a lot on margins and profitability and those things. But in SaaS and in the software, the main focus is actually on revenue growth. It's also about sales efficiency. That's not something that customer success really has a big impact on. So we will focus on this first one, which is revenue growth. And that's why in SaaS, and I suspect that most of you have heard of some of these KPIs. In SaaS, you talk about annual recurring revenue or monthly recurring revenue, because that's such a key metric since the whole company is valued on revenue and revenue growth. But there's another KPI that's quite common, and I think you heard of this as well. It's net revenue retention, NRR. And that's another KPI, and it's a KPI closer to customer success. And what is NRR? NRR is actually the amount of revenue that if you start the year with an ARR or an MRR, what is that ARR in the end of the year for the same customer base. And the strength with NRR is that it gives you some guidance on how much of your revenue will stay for the next year. And if you have a positive NRR, that means that you will, without new customers, your company will keep growing year after year. And that's quite significant. If you have really high NRR, like 130%, you will actually double the business with more, you will more than double within 3 years without new customers coming in. So that's the huge impact a high NRR score has on revenue. What also impacts net revenue retention is, of course, churn. And churn, I think everybody's looking at churn, of course, if you're in customer success. And if you have a gross churn of 8%, that means that your customer will on average stay for 12 and a half years. So these numbers have quite big impact on your future revenue, which has a big impact on the valuation of the company. So net revenue retention, I mentioned this just a minute ago. It's the current ARR from a customer group divided by the ARR for the same customer group 1 year ago. So that's like the financial number. But we want to go down to the operational part, and we want to make this useful in the day-to-day. So churn, that is basically if you lose a customer or if you lose part of a customer or a downgrade, has an impact on net revenue retention. On the other hand, expansion, if you upgrade a customer, if they buy more seats, if they buy an add-on, if they actually buy more from you, and that's an expansion in the contract, that's what we call expansion. So both those two have a direct impact on net revenue retention, of course. But these numbers, and I guess you track them and you have them in some reports today. Are they looking at those, or actually looking backward? Because that's actual data, but they're not really helping us looking forward. And of course, that's if you're in operational role today, if you're head of a customer success team or you're a customer success manager, reporting and dashboards are meant to help you, guide you, help you take the right decisions going forward. So what we want to do with reports and dashboards is to also help us look forward. And you commonly refer to this as lagging measurements and leading measurements. So lagging measurement, a churn rate, is a lagging measurement because the churn rate is usually a consequence on things happening earlier, or perhaps not happening. In the case of churn, we probably did something wrong or missed something earlier. A leading measurement is something telling us, are we going in the right way? So for customer success, this is super critical. This is the way to drive the business, to make sure we're doing the right things. That, of course, will have an impact on these lagging measurements. So back to this one, we know we want to improve our net revenue retention, and we want to do that by improving churn and expansion. And how can we do this in the day-to-day? Well, we have identified 5 different workflows that we in customer success have a direct control over, that we usually work on in our day-to-day business. And those are, number 1, new customers, basically onboarding or trial conversion. Success plans, how well do we plan for a next step with the customer? How well do we make them take the next step? Fix deviations. So this is about when things happen. Shit hits the fan. What do we do? How efficient are we to fix things when they go south? Retention. Of course, we need to keep track of our agreements. We need to keep track of when they're up for renewal. We need to keep track of opportunities, potential, and how efficient are we in managing this and making sure that the customer wants to renew, that they will renew, and perhaps also that we take care of we get the potential this customer has. The last one here is promoters. So this is about our most engaged users, or our most engaged customers. How do we take care of them? How do we develop them, grow them? Really key also for, of course, keeping them as a customer, but this is also really key for new business. So we're actually doing more than this chart is showing. So these are key workflows, key processes, if you like, within customer success that we want to improve on. But what do we measure here? And here we need to also think of this in a few different ways, because we have our customers that we want to measure. we have these workflows or processes that we want to measure, and we have the team working with these processes that we want to measure. And I see this sometimes being mixed up, and of course there are clear links between these, but I think it's quite good to separate them to simplify also, to make sure that we can cover some things for each box here. So my customers, my workflows, my team, and in the end, of course, my company. So we will dig into these and try to clarify what can you measure efficiently in each box, starting off with my customers. So we'll not go into this too big of a detail, but of course, what is the key here? Customer success is all about helping our customers achieve their desired outcome in the relationship they have with us. This is Lincoln Murphy's definition, but I think everybody can recognize that this is, of course, the high-level goal of why we have customers and why we work in customer success. But to measure this, we usually end up in looking at some customer health score. And this is, of course, home turf for us at Start Deliver. And we have a big, we see this a lot, and we see a lot what people are struggling with here, and why people don't get an efficient customer health score. And some common mistakes, I myself have seen this many times. One part is, of course, that it's not measured, or in some rare cases, people do this too complex. They overdo this. And the end result is the same. So not measured, or doing too much or too complicated model that nobody understands, that doesn't help really. And the other part is that you do this in a spreadsheet. You do this and it's not dynamic. It's not data driven. It's not updated. So people have to go and find the data all the time. And the third thing is that this is not really, it's not a leading indicator. We are missing stuff here. We are not really covering what's really a good leading indicator for our customers getting value with us. So these are the common mistakes. We are a strong believer in keeping things simple, easy, so everybody should understand them. So I'm going to share with you an example of how to build a great customer health. And customer health is about context. We need to understand how is the customer doing. And keeping it simple, of course, one part of this is the contract, the commercial side of the customer. What is the ARR? What is the MRR? Is it increasing? Is it decreasing? Are they adding users? Are they adding people? When is the contract up for renewal? All these commercial things, that's context. We also need to understand, are they using our product? Or even better, are they getting the outcome they want from our product? So usage outcome, that's a great indicator to health, and it's context for us. But that's not enough. We also need to understand the experience. Are they getting the experience they want from us? And that's everything we do with the customer. So we need to find out, are they getting the help they need? Do they enjoy working with us in all sense? And here we can pick up on feedback. We can, of course, have a look at support tickets and so on. Another part of context is understanding who is the customer, who are the decision makers, who are the super users, who are the main users. There can be many layers here, but we are in this together with the customer. So it's about joint accountability. We need to know who we're working with, and we need to know all the stakeholders on the customer side. And we need to know, are we doing progress? A customer that has some usage, they're okay with the experience, but we are not driving any progress. That is a risk customer still. So we need to see our progress, And lastly, but probably most importantly, we need to be in control of changes, developments, stakeholders changing, things happening on the customer side. There's a lot there. So customer health is about keeping track of all this context. And why? Why do you need to keep track of this? Because you can set priorities based on this. This can help you prioritize your week, prioritize where you should spend your time, and do the right things, of course. So health score should be guiding you, and I think this is in general for reports and dashboards, it should guide you to do the right things. And with customers, this changes. So unlike sales, it's where you have a clear process where you end with a deal, hopefully. In customer success, you hopefully have the customer for 12 plus years and things happen. And that's why you need to have this data in a dynamic way. So you can pick up on changes, developments, red flags, and so on. So, and with the great health score, you can also have these leading indicators, leading measurements. Are we on the right track? More and more green customers, we will have a good retention rate and a low churn. More and more red customers, we need to turn things around, otherwise our churn rate will go up. So that's a little bit on customer, what to measure on a customer. Now we're going to move on to measuring the team. If you have a team of customer success managers, or maybe you have a big organization with teams, several teams in customer success. So how can we measure what we do in an efficient way? And we see a lot of people coming in from sales or have sales experience and start take over a customer success team. And there's differences here. And I think it's important to highlight the differences between sales and customer success. In sales, traditionally, it's very, we measure, you usually measure some activity level, you have a quota. It's easier, I would say, at least over a shorter period of time, to measure sales rep performance versus a customer success manager. If you take football, similarity to football, a sales rep is more like a striker. If you score, that's easy to measure. It's no discussion around that. Versus a customer success manager is more like winning the game. It's a lot more to it. We will get to this soon, but I think it's important to keep in mind that sales and customer success are different. And following that, there's trade-offs here, because I've seen this as well. We see this a lot. If you start measuring heavily on revenue and expansion on customer success, what happens? Well, on a positive side, I'm 100% sure you will get more deals done on existing customers when you have a clear revenue target. That probably wouldn't happen otherwise. So that's on the positive side. But on the negative side, if you only measure on revenue or expansion for your customer success team, you will not get the team to do the hard work that's required usually to turn around a customer, a risk customer. Because why do that if you can get a bonus, or you're only evaluated based on expansion? Also common to this one is that if you drive hard on expansion, you will probably do expansion that's maybe not in the interest of the customer. So it could actually turn out to be you could even in worst case scenario expand on a customer that doesn't make sense, and they will churn on you. So keep this in mind. It's a trade-off here. Another trade-off is in sales, you usually have some target on number of meetings or appointments or calls or similar demos. Should you have that in customer success? If you have an activity target in customer success on customer success managers, usually, of course, that drives behavior, so activity levels will go up. But what about the quality of those activities. If you have to do X number of meetings with the customers every week, maybe you would do that just to tick the box, but what kind of meetings will those be? That could actually be really counterproductive. So be careful with that. On the other hand, if you have no activity targets, there's of course a risk there that, and I would believe most customer success managers prefer it this way, but of course there's a risk there that we only talk to the customers we know, we only react on incoming emails, we don't do these need to be done tasks, activities that really drive developments on the customer side. So again, trade-offs to be aware of when you look at evaluating and setting targets on a customer success manager. So let's boil it down. What should we measure on a customer success manager? We definitely believe that you should have, if you're a commercial customer success manager, of course, this is a whole webinar by itself, how to organize. But if you have a portfolio you're responsible for, you should have a net revenue retention target for your portfolio. And that could, of course, vary a lot between all depending on the type of business, the type of customer, but you should have a target on that. That's what we believe in. We also believe in that you should look at how many goals can you achieve with the customer. I will get back to this a little bit later. What is this and how does this work? But goals are actually things you do with the customer where usually it's about them doing more with you. It doesn't have to be expansion, it can be other things, but driving progress basically. Also, another thing that you could do to pick up on other parameters as well is to have an NPS and track the delta. Are we developing positively in NPS on the portfolio? That's also a good measurement for a customer success manager. Another part of the customer success manager team is to look at how should a weekly staff meeting look like? I think this is something that's also it varies a lot, and still most companies have a meeting, but what should the meeting be about? And I think in customer success it's especially difficult because there's so many topics, so much things happening. So what should we do in the weekly staff meeting? And just 3 points here, just to as our recommendation. You need to, of course, to look on target. How are we doing? And if you set NRR as your metric, you should, of course, look at this on how are we developing, what is the status, and probably link a few key changes from last week here. Maybe there's some new risk customers, maybe we did some upgrade or similar. So just some key changes as well around this overall high-level target we have. Then we believe in setting very few, up to 3 key actions for the week. So I know every customer success manager have a lot of actions they do every week, but focus on 3 key that we should report on for the next week. And then celebrate, because in customer success, it's hard work. Sometimes it's a lot of focus around churn and negatives. We need to lift all these great things that we really do, like a turnaround, customer moving from being at risk to not being at risk anymore. When we've successfully onboard a customer, when we get, of course, great feedback in an NPS or a CSAT survey or similar. So these are 3 points that we believe should be in the weekly staff meeting. Moving on. So my team, my customer, my team, now it's into my workflows. What is workflows again? Workflows are actually processes. The processes we do drive in customer success. So how well is the machine running? I think that's like the answer we want to give with these reports for these different workflows. And if we start with the new customer workflow, basically how efficient are we on onboarding new customers? A key metric here is time to first value. So how quickly can we get a customer from signing to really getting to first value? This is something you can measure, and you can measure it in time, days, weeks, or similar. Onboarding complete. So how efficient are we to complete an onboarding? What is a complete onboarding? We had several topic. We have covered this topic in several webinars previously, but a good way is to have some sort of a survey when we think the onboarding is almost over. First, of course, they should be up and running in the product, but to get a sign off from a stakeholder that bought your product, that could be a way to like sign off the onboarding. And red flags, of course. Are we not doing handovers properly? Are a lot of the onboarding projects delayed? Is the decision maker still not involved in the project? These are red flags that we could also report on. Success plan workflow. So how efficient are we on driving next steps with our customers? So onboarding is clear, but what happens after? Of course, we want to see them adopting, but things can happen on their side. They get new ideas, they change management, they change strategy, things happen. So we need to have a process for how to plan for the next step with the customer. And goals is a great way to do this in a managed way. Goal is basically an objective that we want to achieve, the customer wants to achieve, and a time frame. And the more goals we can drive and achieve with the customer, this is a great way of progress. Decision maker changes is like a red flag. I think everybody knows if one of our decision makers is not more active or has changed, that's a risk. Other customer changes, they have been acquired, they have entered a new market, things happen on the customer side. We need to pick up on these, and this is also something we could put into these goals, and these goals usually change a lot. A customer with low progress is a risk customer. So unless if we don't have these goals, we don't plan with the customer to do the developments within a certain time frame, that's a risk or a red flag as well. So success plan. Next one is how efficient we are in fixing when things go south. When shit hits the fan, when we have a problem. And I think everybody who's been in customer success a while know that we spend a lot of time here. So how can we measure this, and how can we really have a good reporting structure around this? And if we have a good customer health, then we can start looking at health development versus our actions. So think of this. If we can see health development and we can see our own actions, and our own actions can be everything from our meetings, our training, our calls, our support, our guides, or everything we do. If we map them to the health development, we can actually see which actions drive health development. So that's a really strong metric to track for customer success. And again, red flags. I think a lot of the reports we want are to flag red flags. A drop in usage is a common deviation to fix. An inactivated super user or admin is usually a red flag that we need to fix. A poor feedback, that's usually a signal something is wrong. Support overloading, that could be something. Delayed projects, we talked about it earlier in the new customer workflow as well. So retention workflow, this is about how efficient we are on forecasting, managing, and retaining the customer. Here we need to have a net revenue retention breakdown. How is the ARR now? How is our expansion? How is our churn? And what was the ARR 12 months ago? We should also look at opportunities, of course, here. How many new opportunities to expand are we creating, and are we actually winning? And what is the potential? We should also be in customer success aware of what the forecast on our portfolio or on the total ARR is going to look like right now. taking into account risk customers, but also customers that we know and have high confidence will renew. So red flags here: at risk customers, of course, confirmed cancellations, churned customers. These are, of course, things we want to have on the red flag dashboard or report. Last but not least, promoters. I think this is an area that's quite overlooked. I think everybody knows this, but we are not usually reporting on it or keeping track of it in a proper way. So promoters, of course, these can be like confirmed advocates. These are people that we send to sales, marketing that really promote our product. It can also be these power users, the ones that are using the product the most. We need to keep track of those, and how can we keep them engaged? What more can we do for them? Of course, we have these testimonials that we usually have on the web or in the sales material. We need to keep track of those so we don't lose them or they quit being a reference for us somehow. So many ways to keep track of these key persons within the customers we have. So those were the workflows, the processes that we need to keep track of. A few recommendations on each process, what to measure. I think you can start with the most key important. If you don't have anything, start with the process you believe are most critical for you, and then you can grow from there. Finally, my company. So getting back to the start, customer success have direct impact on net revenue retention, which is probably the most important metric for the board, for the management team, for the leadership team. So if we want to report to management, we should of course report on how customer success can improve and what impact we have. So our recommendation here is to, if you don't have this already in your management team, to share the net revenue retention performance, basically what the ARR is now, how much churn, how much expansion, and what ARR looked like for the same customer group 12 months ago. And show the leading indicators, telling them that we believe, based on what we're doing, that we are improving these numbers. I mean, that's the strongest message you can have to the board, to the leadership team. And you can do that quite easily in one dashboard or one report. We are on time now, so I will take some questions. I think we have one. It was actually just a comment. Someone had to go to the customer meeting. I fully understand that. We have customers. We need to take care of them. So I fully understand that. I want to give you one more thing before you go, and that's that it's our academy, Impact Academy. We run this together with Lincoln Murphy. This is outside of Start Deliver. This is just about you becoming a better customer success manager or head of customer success. We have two courses. One starting now in November for the head of customer success. One starting in January to kick off the year for customer success managers. And we have actually a special deal for everyone who wants to participate, that if you sign up before end of October, you get 10% off for these courses. They are very hands-on. You get a lot of material. You can do them parallel with your normal work, and it will actually help you in your day-to-day. So take the opportunity and sign up. And thanks a lot. I will answer the question individually. So I will leave you all now because we're over time, but I will get back to the answering the questions in the chat. Thanks a lot for joining, and look forward to seeing you soon. All the best.